Well, hello and welcome. We are here for week 5, season 3, WTRL's Zwift Racing League. Anna, I feel like everybody knows us by now. We are so far into this season already. We've passed the halfway mark. Anna Russell, tell me what your whiteboard says this week because we're headed to Richmond and boy, oh boy, it's going to be a cracker.
I won't tell you what my whiteboard said. I'll tell you what I've seen a lot on social media and in lots of messages to me is that vomity face emoticon. This race is going to be pretty brutal. I mean, I say that about a lot of races, but looking at this one, I mean, for the A's and B's, 5 laps of cobbled climbs, that's 3 hills per lap. I mean, I'm not so good at math, but that's 15 climbs, 2 of which are timed each segment, where you've got the fastest time segment and first across the line. But whew, long, brutal course today.
Yeah, there are so many points out on offer on course that it's kind of mind-boggling. And quite often, Anna, you try and break down the course into pieces, more digestible pieces. But actually, if you start to try and do that and you think, oh, I'll just focus on the first 10 of the 15 climbs and then I'll get to the last 5, that all seems a little bit too much. So for the A's, tonight we've got 5 laps, so it's 45 kilometres. As we go down the grades, it drops down to slightly shorter distances, but it will still be equally as vomit face emoji inducing, I think. Let's just take a quick look at the course because those climbs are pretty brutal. They're short, but the elevation on this little course map kind of gives us a bit of an indicator.
Yeah, so that red little bit you see there is the Libby Hill climb, and then after that, almost straight after, is the 23rd Street climb, and then you go into the non-timed climb, but it's still really hard. I mean, it kind of averages like 4 to 5% for a long time, right up to the finish line. So you can see here on the gradient map that's going to come through, there are the 3 climbs. So there's sort of a long, flat-ish portion, no sprint points in the race. So it's really going to be about conserving energy for those big 2 power efforts to get those points and then really be able to hold on up that other climb and not get dropped in any attacks that come up.
Remembering this is a course that held the IRL World Championships back in 2015. So this is a tried and tested course where a lot did not survive. It was a very small bunch at the finish in the end, actually, and on quite a brutal day as well, weather conditions. And, I feel like I've just never seen an easy race out on this course. And even if people, it almost doesn't matter what tactic they use. When they start pretty conservatively, it still looks messy by the end. When they start out pretty hard, well, there's fireworks, but it doesn't really seem to affect how difficult it is.
Yeah, I mean, what I've said to the teams I help out is it's that first climb up Libby that's going to be quite decisive because people are going to be going for fastest time segment. Everyone's fresh. That's when you're going to get it. You're not going to get on the last lap after 40 kilometers. So that first lap is going to be really hard. And then you just hope that after that it'll settle down and you have a little bit of recovery on the flats before you hit those climbs again. But people are going to have been doing some good power efforts in their workouts to be able to tackle these climbs, that's for sure.
All right, now let's take a look at the overall standings before we jump down to any racing and get a bit of a picture of where things are at. Again, we're on week 5, so we're past the halfway mark of season 3. It has flown. So the AHDRL Bam Babes, they are leading only 1 point, though, ahead of TBR Smile On. I've loved seeing these teams battle so far in this series. Zed Sun, Real, they're sitting in 3rd, but on equal points there with the Bombshells. So that's a pretty good race going on there. The Fiery Kittens in 5th. We Race for Cake in 6th and Phenomenal in 7th. All in all, this has been, I would say, the most exciting category across the entire league, Anna, because these ladies have really laid out some pretty interesting tactics so far.
Oh, for sure. And looking here at Division C, we have TBR Smile On, their other team. I will give you all their nicknames later in the show. They've been sent through to me. AHDRL Crazy Cakes in 2nd, a bit further behind. And then Rave C Oz in 3rd, with the AHDRL Cruzettes and the AHDRL Spin Mafia pretty tight there. So 3 to 5 is quite tight. Then the Herd of Corellas in 6th, TZP Lack Lacks in 7th, AHDRL Degenerates in 8th, CMA Queen Bees in 9th, and then rounding out in 10th, TBR Party Bus.
Well, they're just there for the fun, right? With a name like Party Bus. If we go down to the Ds, and we're seeing some really familiar names here. I love that some of these communities have gone through the divisions. We've got the Rave D Oz leading the way there, but only 1 point ahead of the Diamond. So that's a pretty tight race at the top there. The Daiquiris a few points adrift in third. The Herd of Bilbies in fourth. And CMA Girl Power, they're coming in fifth. So we don't expect too many surprises, I think, in that division tonight, but it's still pretty open.
And here we have the men's mixed. We're following Division 3 tonight, Category B, which is the only category actually in this division. We've got a few new names. So we've got R3R Nirvana leading that out in first. Second is Dirty Sprockets Duo. Third, Cryogen Etna is very close behind the Dirty Sprockets. Fourth, another dirt team riding dirtier. The AHDR Ballers in fifth. Ingle Dirt Humperdinck, love that. And sixth, seventh, Herd of Castle. Oh, this is a new one. I'm going to have to do some Googling during the show. Herd of Cassowaries. Eighth,
it's a bird,
dirty.
Anna. A cassowary is a
it?
big giant bird that looks like an emu. Yeah.
Okay,
I know that
I'll
one.
definitely look at that picture. Ninth, Dirty Rascals High Watts. And 10th, another dirty team, Dirty Sprockets Trois.
I love that when we get new categories, we also get these fantastic new names. And the minute I can pick up my phone and I'm not on screen, I'm going to Google Engelbert Humperdinck. I think that was the name.
Yeah.
It sounds familiar, but I'm not sure. It sounds like something out of The Princess Bride, but I'm sure it's not. So we'll have to clarify that. But Anna, it is great that we do get to cover these different categories. We are trying to shine a bit of a light across the whole community. So for tonight, we will have that division that we just took a look at. For the women, we'll try and go across the board and see what happens. We have so many preems out on course. So tonight is a points race. And Anna, everything counts. We may see some people crossing the line for preem points, but we may see the overall looking entirely different. So a lot of strategy that will go into tonight's racing.
Yeah, so it looks like we've got the women already out on course. So we'll check out how they're going. They're down by the river, I'm being told. So we'll see what that looks like in game. Oh, yes, I do know this part. This is kind of the
only flat part of the course, really, right?
Yeah, and you start getting a bit nervous here because you do know you're going to come to the end of this road, do a little hairpin, and then it starts to kind of kick up and you'll see Libby Hill in the distance. So this is, the calm before the storm, let's say.
Yeah, now you're right, this is a section, the calm before the storm. I think on the first lap, when they are going through that fastest through, or are targeting that fastest through segment up these upcoming climbs, this is where everybody's kind of posturing to get that done. But later on in the course, this will become really the one place that they get an opportunity to recover. And in many ways, that will then make it a very dangerous spot for anybody who has a little bit of energy to prevent some of the other riders from getting that recovery. So I can see, Anna, that there's a very big role to play for domestiques within a team to really support their team strategy. That could happen in a number of ways, not only by just pulling pace, but also maybe by being the sacrificial lamb. Would you suggest anybody go for these fastest through segments and kind of have a couple of preems in mind and then get out of the way, Anna, or would you look at it in a bigger picture kind of way for the whole race?
I mean, with the distance of the race, 46 kilometres, that's quite a lot for a Zwift race. And a lot of people may just find that a bit too intimidating or daunting. And they might say, look, just give me the first lap and I'll go as fast as I can up that climb to go for the fastest time segment. And then I might just say, see you later, and sort of treat it as a bit of a training ride. That's definitely one strategy, especially if you've got a team of 6. You could easily have one rider go off and do that. The other option, I think, is maybe some fake attacks. I think that could work on this one. Send someone up the road, get people out of the pack early, get them to burn their legs. Was talking to Jackie Godby, who has won on this course, and she said one of the good strategies for Libby Hill is to actually sort of save your energy for that last part where it really does kick up. I mean, it does start on a slight grade, and if you go too early, by the time it kicks up to, at some points, 23%, you won't have any energy left. So I think people who approach this right, have a good power up, are really going to sort of reap the rewards.
Yeah, I had a bit of fun on a bunch ride last night with some sprints and dropping some power ups and kind of testing a few of my theories around that. And I had
Hmm.
a couple where I noticed that my timing was absolutely rubbish, but I actually had a faster through segment time than the people who beat me across the line. And it reminded me that you can kind of hide in plain sight in that regard. You don't
Hmm.
necessarily need to be flying past people and putting a target on your back to still accrue some of those sneaky points. I'd love to see somebody giving that a bit of a crack. It takes a little bit more thought and consideration to do that on purpose, but it could be interesting. So they're
Yeah.
hitting the slopes of Libby Hill now, Anna. So this is where we can expect some real action.
Yeah, and this does look like these might be fake attacks trying to draw out some people from the packs. It's definitely a bit too early, even though it is at 8%. If you see on that little map in the top right hand corner, those two hairpins, around those two hairpins, it does go up to about 23%. And that's where if you've got a feather, particularly on that second hairpin, drop it, accelerate massively, and you'll have a huge benefit from going around that second hairpin. So don't think just because we're seeing someone off the front that they've gotten away, because I think timing is everything, and you'll see these gaps being pulled back very quick as we see our BRT rider there, Martin, catching up to this German rider on the front who is from TBR Smile on. They've got a little bit of a gap, but like I said, I think timing is all about it on this climb. You're going to see that gradient kick up around this corner here, and then it is really to kind of see the finish line when you go around the corner. And here we go, you see all these riders catching up, especially the ones who drop the feather power ups. They're just going to be jumping on wheels, and it looks like Zed Sun. Not Lam Kong, I notice. M Dot, who we have talked about before in the last race, the last scratch race, looks like they may be coming through for a little bit of a sprint here with M Dot coming through from Zed Sun. Awesome finish. That's what I thought at the beginning. You take that second hairpin with full noise, you kind of sprint out of there, and you may get those first across the line points.
Yeah, that's Margot Jaquette. We've talked about her a couple of times this season. She is a really good one-two punch with Lam Kong. I actually think that they're in a very good position to, have a few different options and keep people really guessing what's going on. But certainly this season, she's been a big standout. Caroline Strasser is the one that we're watching there from TBR Smile On. Now, that's a team that I think is increasingly motivated this season, Anna. We've seen them really step up a level. A couple of those ladies do our bunch rides in the morning, and this morning they certainly said that there was a whole lot of vomitron emojis going on. Uh,
Should we just call it
that
the
was
Vomitron?
yeah. I mean, I said, "How are you feeling for tonight?" And the response was vomitron, and so I said, "Yes, it is certainly a tough course." So, I mean, this is what we've just seen is a pretty good execution from Margot there. She's following Sky. They're working well together, but partly conserving energy. Oh, look at this
Whoa,
flyer,
whoa,
though.
whoa, whoa. Who was that?
That's
Lucy.
Lucy.
Whoa. Oh,
Lucy
wow. Zed
Icesail
Sun has come with some
from TBR.
strategy. Oh,
That is
TBR.
that
That
is
is
brilliant
amazing.
timing from Lucy. She's again been getting I think better every week, like the strategy amongst that team. I think if we dialed into the numbers, we probably wouldn't see a massive increase in their numbers, but I think their strategy has really sharpened. That was pretty impressive, but I want Lucy to get some recovery now because she burnt quite a few matches flying into the red there, opened up a big
Wow.
gap. She does have the
You'll
opportunity to take some recovery
you'll
now.
laugh, Kate, to you'll laugh to know her nickname is Know My Limits Lucy. So hopefully
Oh,
she does know her limits and
that's
has
unless
done
it's
that
one of
massive
those
sprint.
ironic nicknames, where it's like you're really
Yeah.
short, you're really tall, and you get called Shorty. But I think Lucy has been on Zwift for long enough that she certainly would have a very good gauge of that. But I was telling you off air before they started racing, Anna, that I got myself in a bit of trouble in a couple of bunch rides this week, where you accelerate up a climb and probably surge forward far more than you intended to. And I have a
Mm.
feeling Lucy may have flown past a little bit quicker than she intended to there because it is very early in the race to be
Oh,
solo
let's have a
off the
look.
front.
So you can just see I can't even see where she's, there we go. There are those orange numbers. So M started to go for it, but Lucy, there she goes. Aero power up. That is insane how quick that was. I mean, no wonder she got like a 5, 6 second gap. That is probably one of the biggest accelerations I have seen past leaders in my entire time commentating. That she just came through like white lightning.
And even though she backed off, she was still, until just before the line, still at 6, 7 watts per kilo. So she certainly gave it a bit of a nudge. But the other thing we can't discount is often when you approach these longer races, I know for myself, Anna, if it was anything over 35K, I kind of had a no warm up policy. I figured
Mm.
that I had enough racing to actually do the warm up. And sometimes then going for early intermediate sprint prems or something was quite a good way to get the body firing without doing too much damage. And so, bearing in mind the structure of this race and all of the different things on the line, there could be some different things at play. She will also most likely take out that fastest through segment for that. And we also know that given the structure of the race today and how long and tough it is, that may well get her the fastest through segment for the entire day, which is a whole heap of added points. So she's done absolutely the best thing, and hopefully that little bit of recovery means she can now sit in quite comfortably and not have done too much damage there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how this climb goes, and it has looked like a lot of people have come back together. So you've seen attacks on Libby, sort of two going out the front. There was M dot there. I'll go in and get her name so I can stop calling her M dot. And then you also have Lucy, who went through for the second one, really hard and fast. But if you look now, you've got the Bam Babes here setting quite a tempo on the front with Sky. Keeping in mind this is a B category, and they're holding, what was that? That was 320 watts there for a bit, over 4 watts per kg. Uh, Really just driving this home. I don't think she wants anyone to catch back on who maybe was caught unawares. So the pack did come together for a little bit, but now we see Sky really extending things out. You can see all those green dots in the top right-hand corner strung out big time. So not quite sure of what she's trying to do here, other than maybe detonate some of the legs behind. It was quite interesting. I had a chat to one of the racers who's an ultra distance runner earlier today, and she was really looking forward to this course because it comes down to those who actually have a bit of endurance. So you may see a few of the long distance triathletes coming to the fore a little bit because they're used to that kind of long, steady effort. Maybe not so much the sprints, but they'll be pretty good for 46 kilometers. And same with those long distance runners, just kind of used to that, sitting in there, riding at tempo for a long period of time.
Well, Sky Talbot, she's a level 39 Zwifter, so fair to say she's done a few laps of Watopia and then some. She's got some really high and impressive 15-second power numbers in particular, but also pretty solid through the 5-minute power. So she's a pretty explosive rider who can really handle those anaerobic accelerations. It makes sense that she was able to get through that without too much damage. Based on her profile, I'm not sure that she would be loving a long solo effort, but this is a pretty good way for the Bam Babes to force a chase. Bearing in mind that if she pushes really hard out there and the bunch does choose to chase her, people will just naturally drop off the back. So it is a really good way to force a lot more selection off the back. I mean, you've called them fake attacks tonight. It's kind of like a bit of a dummy ploy, isn't it? Where it's not the end game, but it's definitely one of the strategic steps along the way.
Yeah, so Sky here, I'm just looking at some of her stats. I mean, like you said, maybe not the highest 20-minute power. And this could be an early attack just because maybe she's saying, look, I only really can last 3 laps of this intensity. So let's make it really painful for those behind. And you'll be seeing here all of the riders from her team will be sitting in and not really doing any work. So quite a good strategy there. I do quite like it. I'd always sort of like that position of being in that chase pack where you can just sit on wheels and not feel too guilty about it. You do see TBR Smile on there in the green kits kind of pushing ahead. You've got a few AHDRs. And and then just one BRT rider and two Z Sun. So looks like a little bit of a battle between AHDRL and TBR Smile On. One rider I do. Firstly, it is Margot, not M. Dot, so I'll start saying Margot. One of the best 20-minute powers I saw was from Lisa Martin in BRT. So she is the sole BRT rider in that group. You can just see in that kind of darker purple kit with the silver on the sides. Maybe one to watch out for. I think she's got that power to take it all the way. Maybe you'll get dropped on the climbs, but good for the finish.
Yeah, it is actually quite interesting to delve into these riders' FTPs and then match that up with what you see racing,
BRT.
because numbers are very different to what goes on, like the dynamic of racing. And something I've also noticed when you're in a bunch ride, so in a bunch racing or just cruising along, is often a really good way to move up through the bunch is to have almost these micro bursts where you really are only for 1 second or 2 second putting quite a lot of power down, and it really does allow you to move up quite a number of spots quite quickly to then back it off, and that cumulatively creates a lot less fatigue than some of these bigger efforts. But for the most part, you can't delve into somebody's Zwift power profile and really get an understanding of whether that may be the kind of rider they are. So sometimes you look at their profile and you're like, they don't look like they should be able to do as well as they are doing. Because while it is very
Mm.
comprehensive, I think there's still a little bit of mystery around that. Lucy Isdale, she took those points over that first KOM very impressively. Now she's, or the second KOM was, now she's a level 47 Zwifter. So
Oh,
we've got a
nice.
whole lot of experience out there. She was saying this morning that, she was missing the XP points from the tour of Autopia. Like, everybody was saying how much they appreciated those bonus points. So we might have to go on some badge hunting missions in the future, Anna, to help those level ups.
So she, Lucy, who messages me every Tuesday with all the nicknames of their team, have said that they've also got a nickname for the Governor Street climb, which is the non-timed effort, but it does end in the finish line, so watch out for it on lap 5. They actually renamed it Mount Vomitron, and they've all got their
Oh,
buckets at the ready. So
excellent.
they they are definitely here for some hard racing, and you can just see now that Sky is getting caught by the group at the back, only 4 seconds back. So what do you think here? Like, I'm wondering if they may do a little counterattack. They've got the riders in the group, they've got more AHDRL. Maybe not any Bam Babes though. I'm seeing a lot of Bombshells. She could be the only Bam Babe. I'm seeing. Oh no, there's V there as well. So another just single letter name, which I'll check out what the actual name is. Vicky. What do you think? Vicky counterattack once they catch on?
Yeah, look, I think that at this early stage in the race, that would be a very front-heavy strategy to do that. I mean, it has been unbelievably good what Sky has been able to do in terms of really stringing out that chase group and making them work for it right to the bottom of what is a very important KOM in Libby Hill coming up. And also through this flat section, it's like what we spoke about at the beginning, Anna, which is if somebody has good legs or somebody just wants to inflict a whole lot of pain, which I feel like is your thing with your whiteboard and some of the tactics you come up with, that this section is where you can strategically send someone out to essentially ensure nobody gets much recovery. And that is exactly what's happening. So they're only on lap 2 of 5 very grueling laps. And already the bunch is quite small and nobody's able to get a second's reprieve. So it's very smart racing. I think that maybe Vicky should bide her time a little bit and let some of the other teams take the responsibility.
Yeah, and will Sky be able to hold after a lap of riding around 3.7 watts a kg? Will she be able to hold on to actually put in the required to stay with this hard chasing pack, who we know have some pretty good all power efforts that we saw on the first lap? So if she has kind of burnt too many matches, I think she might just get dropped off the back. It is really hard up Livy Hill because it finishes with a flat, kind of like the volcano climb. it actually doesn't finish sort of, and then you go straight into a downhill recovery. It just flattens off. So if you've really pushed to the limit to get to that line, you don't really have any recovery for sort of about 10 seconds, and then you get a very short downhill before you hit the next climb. So it's you almost just can't go too hard and then get completely dropped from the bunch, especially considering, like you said, Kate, it's only lap 2. She's still holding around 5 seconds here, so they're letting her dangle. I think they're not really worried. They're just letting her push her way up, but she could be a contention for first across the line here. I don't think fastest time segment. I think we will have seen that on lap 1, but already pushing up to the 5 watts a kg, early stages of the climb. But here we go. I see Vicky from Bam Babes, actually, so a teammate chasing this down within 4 seconds. You don't want to be chasing this down if you're the teammate of the one who's in the breakaway.
Well, she may be rolling to the front and going like, "Wah, what are you going to do about it?" But I say that, and then I notice that she's at 5 watts per kg. So I dare say she's not actually just sitting at the front and letting that go at all. Liz Martin is who we're watching at the front there. She looks pretty solid at over 5 watts per kg on these bottom slopes. Sometimes you do need to cast your eye over to the right to really get an understanding of how hard they're working, because the avatars do a wonderful neutral face, don't they? I feel like they need to put some pain faces on. This is the tough part. It starts to really kick up, and the cobbles really slow you down as well. The more power you put out doesn't necessarily translate into forward movement, but the bunch is really starting to open up here. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, not a great power up here that we saw drop from the Smile On rider. Perfect there from Liz. Feather power up around the corner when it hit that 23%er, and then she has just opened it up. She does have a faster finishing Z Sun rider coming through. That might be Margot, who we were talking about earlier. Actually looks like Sky managed to get those first across the line, so great tactic there from Babes getting that. And then Daru from Z-Sun. Z-Sun is really cleaning up some of the points. We've only got 2 riders in there, but that's very dominant, because we saw Margot also from Z-Sun. Yep, from Z-Sun. That was Wilhelmine, who's also come through on that one. So quite liking their Z-Sun strategies. And we have seen a message come through from Lam Kong, one of our favourite riders. She's injured, so hopefully just one race.
No.
Not sure how long that'll last, but that's why we're not seeing her racing tonight. She is at home and injured.
Well, that is a total bummer that she's injured, and Lam Kong, we wish you absolutely all the best in recovery. We love how you animate the races, so come back to us soon when you can. But geez, Z-Sun have stepped up. I feel like they're, really on a bit of a mission tonight to show what they're capable of, because this is, it's very good teamwork. The way they seem very organised, if nothing else. Great lead over the top by Sky Talbam Babes, who's been away for quite a while. Just a moment of fashion, Anna, as she hits this KOM. She's looking pretty funky with her Tron and her afro. I quite like it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I mean, I'm very impressed here just by the fact that she's now going to probably, although she's seeing some quick finishing here from Liz, but she may actually take first. No, I think this crew has now had enough of her taking first across the line. It is going to be Margot from Z-Sun pushing pace. I thought Liz might have got her from BRT. She's dropping the feather. She might still have just enough time, but I think maybe a little bit burnt out there. Margot definitely has some power in there. She was hitting 8 watts a kg up that climb. Now she's playing a bit of the Bam Babes game right back to them, taking a bit of a lead here. And she might pull this out. 4 seconds now across Liz, who's just behind. She might just do the same thing, try and take first across the line up Libby Hill the next time round.
It's not a bad tactic, and honestly, if you there's plenty of people that end up with the Grand Tours, like the most combative jersey or something, or the red number, which indicates that you're kind of the most aggressive rider out on tour. You can get a lot done by thinking outside the box. If you happen to be one of the kind of riders who fits clearly into one of the categories of climber, sprinter, roller, then it's a lot easier to consider race strategy and how you might win. When you're a rider that ticks a few boxes, but it's kind of a jack of all trades, it's a little bit more difficult. And I think that extends to across the team. So some of the teams are full of incredibly strong riders individually and as a team, but to actually get the win, they need to consider how they may do that and how they may use strategy to really play into that. And I want to point to the fact that this bunch is now so small. We're in for 5 laps of just over 9K, so it's about 45K in total today's race. And they're only 17K in, and I think they're only down to 5 of them at this stage, 5 in picture. And we've got a couple just off the back, including Lucy Isdale. So we hope that she can get back on, as well as Gokya Paul, who's been pretty strong. They're both AHDRL. She's a bombshell, Gokya Paul. So let's see if she can get back, and then we'll have 7. We're going to just go down to a replay of the men heading up Libby Hill for their first lap. So let's see what's happening over there.
Oh, King there from Australia, looking coming first, and then Kovacic, Partain from Dirt, and Vale in fourth. So a couple of race 3R there. Not sure who D King's riding for. I'll check that out, but definitely some Dirt and race 3R coming in as well. Looking that we're just seeing a replay here of the 23rd Street climb as well. This is very hotly contested. D King again on that pink Tron. That is phenomenal. So they are absolutely hauling it on this first lap. Vale 3R, Goddick 3R, second and third it looks like, and Carver coming in fourth. American rider there. It must be some ungodly hour of the morning when they're racing, but wow, that's very, very impressive there from King, which was 2 first across the lines, and I would imagine fastest time segments. Impressive riding there from the Australian.
So now they're heading up the Governor Street. I can't even say that without thinking of old ye English convict days. They're heading up Governor Street climb here, and you're right, Daniel King. He's right. He's with Cryogen, Anna, and he really hauled it, I think is the term you used. I love that. I'm going to steal that. I think he looks like he was out there on a mission to get some of those fastest through segments early on, which we think is a very proven and well-formed tactic, and a team like Cryogen has the experience to make that happen. Tom Godek, he went across there as well. Richard Vale was the other one who was taking points. But at the moment, it's Graham Partain. I was about to say he's a dirty rider. He rides for Dirt, and their team is called Riding Dirtier. They brought that upon themselves, I feel. But he's kind of following the playbook of what we've seen happen over in the women, Anna.
Yeah, I do just want to. I'm looking at these numbers on Zwift Power. I do just want to make a call out that Daniel King, Graham Partain, who we're watching, both in the 50 plus category. You wouldn't know that looking at their avatars, but wow. Really impressive. I hope I'm riding that strong when I'm in the 50 plus category. And then they've got Goddick there from race 3R, under 23. So wow, what a spectrum of ages all sprinting up together. Really great to see. I like that. A little whippersnapper taking it to the old guns, which they hate me saying, but yeah, that was quite. I've never seen that much of an age range going at it in a sprint.
Gee, we're making friends tonight, aren't we, Anna? With what we're throwing out there. But you know what? We've got to have some fun as well. But you're right. It's very interesting, isn't it, to see the different styles of riders, the different ages, demographics, geographies that come together to do this. Bearing in mind, any of the Americans, they are up at ridiculous o'clock to be able to race. So we've got Graham Partain again out the front. There's a woman in the bottom right. Once again, Sky Talbot, she's just on fire today. If nothing else, Anna, I think she came in today to be an animator. And that kind of tactic is quite fun, actually. It's like you go out there and just make as much trouble for everybody as you possibly can. And sometimes that works because people kind of give up the goat a little bit. But no, Sky Talbot, I think so far she's earned my red jersey for the most aggressive rider of the day. But they are starting to regroup a little. Lucy, we're willing you to get back on the back here. Just push that little bit harder. What an incredible sprint she had early on. I like to think that that's not biting her in the legs right now, but may well be doing that. But it looks like she might be able to get back on, which will be an opportunity, not for a lot of recovery because this course just flat out doesn't have much of that, but it will give her a chance to at least take a drink and, maybe catch her breath a little bit, drop that heart rate enough to be able to recover.
I mean, unfortunately, Lucy, no main limits, Lucy, maybe potentially riding a little bit out of her limits. If she doesn't get back on this climb, they're just going to ride away into the distance. She's in a really dangerous point at the moment. She's only sort of hovering at around a second, but that bunch would have gone quicker on the downhill. It's already up to 2 seconds, and she was riding at like 4 watts a kg there. I think she needs to get on pretty much now because they've gone off into the distance, unfortunately for Lucy. Almost looks like there could be 3 seconds ahead now, and that's just a terrible place to be. I think, unfortunately, that gap in the road, she needed to get on before that downhill because this bunch moved too fast, and she may get ejected off the back, which is unfortunate. I love getting my little messages from her, and I hope she'd have a good race, which she did in the lap 1, and that could have been the tactic, to be honest, which it was a very good tactic, taking those probably what would be fastest time segments. So good work, but man, you got to hate that, right? So close to getting back on.
I think we maybe need to kind of rename her for this evening, Push My Limits, Lucy. Good on her for giving it a go, and she'll certainly have some points on the board for the end of it. But if you go onto her Zwift Power, Anna, and this is funny because you get the messages from her and she's quite a character, it says on her profile, "Somebody told me this would be fun, lol." And that just makes me laugh because I've had so many moments on Zwift where I've thought exactly the same. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is supposed to be fun. What am I doing? But you don't clip out, you keep going. And I think that's probably how she's feeling right now. Like, seriously, what's going on? But great race from Lucy so far. But unfortunately, I think you're right, Anna. Those couple of seconds have opened up through this section. It's now at 10 seconds. It'll be tough for her to get back on.
Yeah, and looking at the group now, there's Lucy. Loving her kit too. They know I love that TBR Smile on kit. They just I think they got best kit award in the fashion awards I did after season 2. I've actually got a new category for the fashion awards for season 3, which is
do you have a trophy?
I think I might get a trophy made. It's best new kit launch. So I've been noting down all the new kits I've seen in game, and it will be which has launched the best kit. So keep your eyes peeled for that coming up at the end of this season to see who I think has launched the best kit. This looks like the chase pack here with one of the fearless riders, Whiteman. They're surrounded by the purple of AHDRL. Man, they are everywhere. Looks like one of them's got a slightly different kit with black shorts instead of purple, so maybe that's a bit more of an old school kit. One fearless rider, not great to be the only one from your team in a pack surrounded, and a Z-Sun rider at the back too. So this is it is the chasing pack, so they're around 20th. But yeah, different kit there. Must have just been maybe one of the older style ones. I do like all the fact that they're wearing orange socks.
Yeah, it looks good though. Aside from the orange, I know how offensive you find that, but aside from that, I think it actually looks pretty cool. Kerry Westwood, we haven't seen too much from her in earlier weeks, but she's kind of upped her game a little bit this week. Fist pump to you, Kerry. And she's sitting pretty, I was about to say sitting pretty. She's sitting pretty comfortably in this chase pack. I think now that they've established those groups, they can get a much better rhythm. It's just like when you join any kind of bunch ride, and at the beginning, everybody goes a little bit crazy trying to establish where they belong in the proceedings. And then once it settles down, you can really take stock of where you are, decide, am I in a position to make some movement off the front, or am I just holding on, and then kind of consider your options from there. But this front group is well established now. They're pretty cruisy. There's 8 of them there. Heidi Hunt and Lucy Esdale are both not too far off the back. Heidi Hunt from the Bombshells, she's 9 seconds. Lucy is now 13 seconds, so they're still hanging in there.
Mm.
The fellas are also hitting Libby Hill at the moment, so we're about to have some pretty big action on both sides of the draw card here, and we'll see how this plays out.
And
They'll be carrying a bit of fatigue into this, Anna, so it's going to start looking differently than those first couple of laps.
oh, definitely. You're coming up to the sort of race of attrition, we call it now. But I would be watching those Z Sun kits pretty carefully in that women's race. The red shorts with the white top and the little sun on the back. They've done very well, and they've got some serious power. You're looking at Willemine, Deroux, and also Margot Jacquet. So we've got a Swiss rider and a French rider there, surrounded by a whole lot of Aussies and a couple of Germans. So great country representation, but yeah, I'd definitely be watching for those Z Sun riders. I just feel like they've come in with some strong tactics, and they don't have Lam Kong, like we said, she's injured, but they are coming to the fore. Some of the riders we haven't talked about before, really showing their prowess.
Yeah, Villemine Deroux, Margot Jacquet. She flew up Libby Hill that first lap, didn't she? When we were back in the old days, Anna, when we were calling her M. Dot, which I quite like as a nickname, actually. It sounds like a rapper. That could be her rap name.
Oh yeah,
I'm M. Dot.
nice.
And by saying that, I've just made myself sound like the least cool person on the planet. I'm totally okay with that. Liz Martin, she's on the front at the moment for BRT, but she does not want to take responsibility for the pace. She peels off a bit to the side, and it looks like Z Sun is where people are starting to cast their eyes, especially after M. Dot's wonderful sprint up there on that first one. It is a very steep KOM, but she made it look quite easy. Liz Martin now taking the lead again. She's a bit of an incumbent. She does this on this part of the climb for a couple of laps in a row now. They're going for points, not necessarily fastest through segment. So it might even be worth sitting more comfortably for second, third, or fourth rather than burning a lot of matches to actually jump over the top. So that's a consideration here as well. But Liz Martin is certainly setting a very strong pace.
Yeah, definitely. But that was a pedestrian climb up until this last part, so everyone is tired. That was a lot slower than that first one. No one will be setting fastest time segment. Seeing a few feathers drop there, potentially a little bit too late. We are watching Caroline here from TBR, probably looked like she was going to come through for the win there, but I'm just seeing, yeah, there she is. She's out in front with our friend there, Margot, who's just come up second. But if these two, I think the good strategy here is to, if you've come through first across line on Libby Hill, keep that momentum going, keep that pace high, keep the gap to the riders behind, at least until the 23rd Street climb, and get a bit of a gap and then go full noise again. But I just think people are getting too tired, and we can see Sky there from the Bam Babes, who had that epic sort of solo attack off the front for lap 1. She's doing very well, getting off the front again. But keep your eyes out for the other Z Sun rider, Willemine, who is on that sort of looks like a Canyon 2021 with the pink detailing and the, I want to say, DT Swiss wheels. So I think I've got my little bikes right there in the wheel set. So she's set up for a pretty quick sprint times. It's really, we should delve a little bit into bike choice. We'll do that after they hit this 23rd Street climb, because I think there's going to be some serious sprints. We are seeing some riders getting gapped off the back there. Looked like Willemine, actually, who I was just talking about, has been gapped off 2-3 seconds now. That's really unfortunate, because she had very high power and was looking good, but that's very, very bad timing for Z Sun for her to be dropping off at the time.
Well, we're in the territory where a lot of the teams have 1 or 2 riders in there. In fact, Liz Martin, who's hit the pace now, dropped the feather power up and made the acceleration from BRT. She is the sole BRT rider in there, but she is being overtaken by Margot Jacquet, M. Dot, our rap girl. She is climbing like a monster today. I love it. She's done a great job. A lot of the teams have 2, like I was saying. So the Bombshells, they've got Gokyapol up there, as well as Simone. The Bam Babes, Well, they've just got Sky Talbot left. Zed's son, Villamine, Daru has just struggled a little bit off the back, but she isn't far off. So we expect her to get back on, and she's got Margot there as well. The team that I'm pretty impressed with are TBR. We've lost Lucy Esdale off the back, but Tess Waterhouse is still up there at the moment. And we've also got Carolina Strasser, who you were saying up Libby Hill, Anna was doing a sensational job of getting points. I reckon when we delve a little bit deeper into the points, and there she is. You're right. From a
Mm.
fashion perspective, they look really funky.
Oh,
Um,
it looks
and
amazing.
Carolina flew up Libby Hill, and we saw what Lucy did on the first lap up the 23rd Street. Uh, so let's take a look at the overall times. We haven't got fastest through segment on there yet, but I'm interested in this because I think it tells a bit of a story. So we've got Zed's son with Jaquette and Villamine Daru at the top of the table there with 43 and 38 respectively. Carolina Strasser, just chatting about her from TBR in third. Sky Talbot, brilliant effort off the front, taking on the pace in that first lap. And, might I add, then hanging on to still be part of that front group and getting the points rewards for that. Lucy Esdar from TBR also sitting in the top 5 there. So we've just had it updated. So Jaquette still has that lead, but Carolina Strasser and TBR Smilon sitting in second. This is actually turning. So Zed Sun have first and fourth. TBR
Mm.
Smilon have second and fifth. This is absolutely race on.
Yeah, it is. And I'm just trying to look at the makeup of this front pack. We've just seen a couple of the bombshell riders who had been dropped off catch back on. So you do have two bombshells riders there who just at the back. And this is a horrible time. Like, it's good to catch back on, but they're just climbing up a hill, and you've got Caroline really pushing pace here. And this is going to be brutal because they would have really pushed to get back on to the back of this group. And it might just be too much there from Goka. Using that draft power up might just get her back on, but there's still a lot of climbing to go. Work here if someone could push off the front again, and that would probably just be the nail on the coffin as she'd drop off. But looks like we've got one rider from the AHDRL Bam Babes, two from Bombshells. So that one BRT, one Z Sun, one TBR Smile on. So although those intermediary points were great for Z Sun, they're in a risky position now with just one rider. We can see 8 seconds back was Willamine. She may not catch back up 7 seconds. She's working hard to get there. But even though the Bombshells haven't had many intermediary points, they're in a good position with two riders up there for the finish line.
Oh, well, and we can go all conspiracy theory too, and consider that we've got between the Bombshells and the Bam Babes, they have even greater strength in numbers. So I won't suggest that they're colluding and working together, but they're certainly, I'd be surprised if they worked against each other. And that neutral territory can be very beneficial at times, certainly in a pointy race like this, where there really is no recovery and they kind of need to look after each other and not be mindless in the way that they do things. Every time they go up another little climb, and there's so many, 15 in total for this race because they're doing 5 laps and 3 per lap. So that's, how do you like my maths, Anna? I feel like I'm really keeping
Yeah,
up
good.
tonight. That's
good.
But we're losing riders every single time the road twists upwards. So at this rate, it's not beyond the pale to imagine that we could have a solo finisher or even a group of 1 or 2.
Yeah, I mean, I've just seen the Z Sun rider Willamine join into that group, which is fantastic. Now 2 Z Sun, so they're in a very, very strong position with the fact they've got so many intermediaries. We'll have a look at the men's racing as well. I know they've making some replays on the climbs that they've just gone out. So this is it's from the team Humperdinck, who was actually a singer. Kate, someone's commented through. So Engelbert Humperdinck is a singer, and this rider Farron looks like he's taken through the Libby Hill climb convincingly with King again, our 50-plus rider on that pink Tron in second from Cryogen, and Goddick, who is our under-23 rider, race 3R. So very similar names right up there at the front. King, Goddick, Vale as well from race 3R. Be interesting to see their points, because I think race 3R will have done pretty well now with the fastest time segment and first across line. And just looking here, looks like they're coming through into the 23rd Street climb. And Farron, again, D King. Wow. He must have had some beetroot juice before this ride, because he is absolutely dominating all of those climbs. That is amazing. Very, very good performances from King.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's it, Cryogen fans and friends and family in a circle, is beetroot juice, because they are absolutely flying tonight. Daniel King is on some form. Let's take a look
Ooh.
at those segment points. Fastest through segment, he's picked up a couple of those. Brilliant for him. That now catapults him so far up the board that it will, even though they're not even halfway through the race, Anna, it's going to be hard for him to really get beaten if he keeps up even half the run he's had so far. Mitch Kovacic sitting in second there, Richard Vale in third. What's very interesting about this is all of the different teams that we're seeing represented here. Race 3R are coming through fairly strongly with Kovacic and also Tom Godek. Brian Carver, he's our first dirty rider of the night, and he is sitting in fifth at the moment. But there's a massive points differential, isn't there, between Brian Carver and Daniel King there, 83 versus 29. So it's a pretty steep fall off the edge of that leaderboard at the moment. And I love that we haven't really shone a lot of light on these guys throughout the series, because we've been jumping around trying to make sure every part of the community gets a little bit of time in the sun. But Daniel King is, so from what we've seen, Anna, he's a very exciting bike racer. He's got a bit of a funky, cool avatar too, I've got to say. The no helmet with the aviators and the facial hair. I think he's done a good job of that. But
Yeah.
I mean, you're our fashion police, so I don't overrule you.
Look at those gloves and socks. Matching gloves and socks. Tick, tick, tick. He's got the good glasses, matching gloves and socks. So he's not only winning across the line, he's winning in the fashion stakes as well. I love it. I think that's a very, very clean look. Harnessing a little bit of a Gavarian look from the pro peloton with that beard.
Look, I was going to
so,
say he looks like a computer technician, but you've gone straight to the pro peloton, so we're on slightly different tangents there.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I think it looks good. Nice clean cut, perfect, nice matches. You know, that's all it takes for me. But I do want to just note, I mean, he is well ahead on points. No other Cryogen points on the board yet that we saw in that top 10, which made me think there were no other riders in there. But then I had a look at that pack, 2 other Cryogen riders. So that's quite scary for the rest of the pack, because they could just be holding on for the finish line points and just really setting out Daniel King to get all of the intermediaries he can. I'm liking the strategy if that's what they're doing. If anyone's watching, and also he's got a matching orange hat and orange socks, so they've come to the party tonight. If anyone's watching and knows Cryogen's strategy, maybe their team manager, is that what they're doing? Because if it is, that is almost perfectly executed. No socks. Ooh. Paul F. I mean, his shoes match his sunglasses, which is great, but there's no socks, which is a huge points deduction for that, and some weird looking gloves there. I've never seen those gloves, actually, kind of a weird gold polka dot. So, yeah, that was a bit of a bad one to finish off with. But
I love, Anna, that I can hear you cringe. Most people need a face to see when they cringe, but you make this sound like it's so terribly offensive when somebody doesn't have socks on, or worse, has orange socks on, or God forbid their socks don't match their gloves. It's wonderful. But you know what? A lot of the time I feel like they're listening to you, because we've had some outfit changes mid-season for sure.
Oh, there have been, either to something that looks even more horrific that I have to call out, and I'm mentioning the AHDRL girls there who always seem to do that, or people just really up their game and look great. And I get tagged in a lot of Instagram posts now about how good people's avatars look. So thanks for that. I do always appreciate and give a little ranking and rating on you as well. But these riders are looking like they're heading into Libby Hill now, where eyes on Daniel King, I think. I think could be the rider who's going. Could it be? Is it their third time up now? Third time lucky? Man, people must know his game now, though, and he's obviously got the climb just right. I think they've got tactics here. They've sent someone up the road. They're trying to pace the effort here. Now, what I've learned, and this is from an Anna van der Breggen tactic, was keep the
Oh,
pace
well,
super
that's good
high so no
info.
one. Yeah, keep the pace super high so no one can attack, and then have your sprinter just chilling out and they attack. So this looks like what they're doing because they've got this rider off the front keeping a very solid pace but not sprinting, and riders are dropping off the back. So I like what they're doing here. I mean, Kate, you're the in real life racer. Is this the kind of strategy you think?
It's a good strategy. I think when you can make people really suffer, not only do you damage their legs and kind of take the sting out of any attack that they may make, but also mentally, it's pretty taxing when you know that something pretty intimidating is coming up. And they've actually Farron has just hit that section on Libby Hill there on the cobbles where it does really start to kick up these new next couple of corners. Mentally, it is very difficult when the pace is so high.
Yeah, it looks like Aaron here from the Dirt H Watts, I think potentially has gone a little bit too early because we have seen riders catching up over this last corner, getting chased there by Goddick from 3R, who's the under 23 rider. But Aaron might have done it from Dirt. We're seeing some orange numbers there, but he has. Oh, he's not in the. Oh, he's actually a little bit further back. So he's getting lapped, and look who it is. Fair in that. D King.
He's
Fantastic.
nothing if not
Another great
reliable, isn't he,
performance.
Anna? I mean,
I mean,
Farron, brilliant ride by Michael Farron to go up there at the speed he did. And look, the fact that he rides for a team called Humperdinck, extra points for that. But Daniel King again, and at this point in the race, Daniel King doesn't need to actually extend himself and win these necessarily. If he's just kind of up there and amongst it and still getting some good points, that will just keep him in that top spot in the points race for what they need to achieve. So it's actually really smart racing. People can start trying to sprint over the top of him, but it won't. I don't think it'll really distress him too much at all.
yeah, and I think he's motivating a lot of the viewers because we're seeing a hashtag come out faster after 50. So there we go. You know, don't think game's up and you don't have sprint legs, because we're seeing that here with King, who's doing extremely well. Even though second across the line there, that's a lot of points to be adding to his massive haul already. Farron from Humperdinck already going for it on this 23rd Street climb. That is a huge opening up sprint. I don't know if anyone will get on that. We see Vale racing from race 3R and Goddick, our young rider, also from race 3R. I'm not sure if they'll get him over the line. This Tron is coming through, though. That looks like Goddick coming in. I love this. In that B kind of kit with the Aqua coming over. Vale, two teammates. 1-2, it looks like. He set up a little early, got worried there. And King in third. King never far away from the action. Great finish there on the 23rd Street climb from Goddick and Vale from the same team. That's going to add some crucial points to their tally.
And very good race cadence from him as well. He went up there at the peak of his speed, still over 90 revs per minute. It kind of indicates that he hasn't hit that fatigue marker yet, where your legs just neurally do not want to turn over about 85. We will see that a fair bit toward the end. They will be riding in much bigger gears to kind of muscle over the top of the climb. So they're doing a really good job at the back end. That could be a big part of their strategy coming into this, that they survive through the first, get a few points along the way, and then really hit it in that back end. Daniel King is in a little bit of wonderland there on his own, but he's about to reconnect Morales flying right past him. So King needs to perhaps jump out of his seat and make sure that he makes this a little effort before it opens up too much. Morales, a very well-known and experienced Zwift community member, so he has taken the opportunity to put in a bit of effort, get back to the front, and now he can essentially drift backwards, have a bit of recovery. That's a really good way, I find, in game to actually keep, get the recovery you need is almost go a little bit harder than you need to, but only for a couple of seconds, so that you can then take that breath that you need without still staring at that back wheel and hanging on, hoping that you get back. Farron, he's now in that little bit of in between. Is he? He is. He's a little bit back, about 6 seconds back. So he will have to put in a little bit of work here to get back. It's so easy to discuss on kind of an intellectual level the damage that it does putting in these big sprints and efforts. But it's another thing when you start really seeing it play out when gaps start to open up over after the climbs.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big lesson from watching this for those still racing is don't underestimate this Governor's Hill because people are tired, but they may have saved someone in their team who can just push off the pace a little bit at the front and just really drive the nail in. And you can see just riders on sort of twos and threes at the back there. Gaps of only 2 seconds, but like we saw in the women's race, that 2 second gap can very quickly explode out to 8, 9 seconds just because you're so fatigued. If you've put in a bit of effort, to get back on and then suddenly there's a push off the front like we see here from King, then automatically you're sort of out the back again. And we are seeing that sort of some I think those two riders off the back there just may not have the legs to get back on. They just look a little bit too in the distance now, and it's really going to start to burn after those hard efforts up 23rd Street and Libby Hill. I mean, this is, we call a lot of races a race of attrition, but this is definitely one because of that 5 lap factor. It just, these last 2 laps will be horrific.
Well, the fact that everybody's talking about vomit emojis and vomitrons, uh, I think that indicates that everybody has it on their mind that this is going to be a pretty tough day. And going in with that slight fear factor, it is a little bit intimidating. That front group, we've got 11 in there. That's a pretty small front group, especially at just over the halfway mark. We are having a couple that are just rejoining. Tortoretto is with Farron. They are just joining back on to this group now, so that will make them 13. Still a pretty reduced group. And once you've been dropped on a course like this, when it does go around laps, start ticking up those climbs again, it's hard to think that they won't end up potentially off the back again. So we're sort of getting a bit of an insight into those riders who are surviving at the front a little bit. Let's take a look at the replay from the women's Libby Hill and also 23rd. So that is their next lap up there now, and that's just happened their third time up.
Oh, there we go. My go. Looking like she's going to take it out with Sky from Bambaves coming up in second, with Caroline coming in third from TBR Smile On. So that's 3 different teams, 1, 2, 3 across the line. Zed's Sun, though, very, very impressive. Let's see if their rider, Willamette, no, looks like she's dropped off, and this is the 23rd Street climb, so a few came back together. Big gaps here now. We see Margot, she's pulling ahead at 7 watts a kg. It's not a sprint, it's just kind of a hard sustained effort, which I think will be enough in these final laps because everyone's quite tired and those sprints just aren't there. But again, Margot with Caroline and Sky. So same 3 riders, a little bit of a different order. And I think they've gapped those riders behind. We've got Liz there, 6 seconds back. Heidi from the Bombshells, Simone from the Bombshells, 15 seconds back. And Willamine, 18 seconds back. I think she's gone now, the Swiss rider from Z Sun, unfortunately. And Sky here, doing the same tactic that she did in lap 1. Pushing off Governors from the exact place she launched last time, riding at 5 watts a kg, huge numbers for a BCAT rider, and looks like 7-second gap. I mean, is this a strategy coming into the last lap? Is she going for a solo breakaway here, hoping that the riders behind are just too tired?
Well, it is a very good strategy at this point in the race if that's what she's going for. Coming into the last lap mentally, that breaks a fair bit of a barrier, knowing that that's all you've got left. Cast our eyes to those segment points. Now we've got the fastest through segment coming through. Paints a different picture, doesn't it? Because we've got Margot at the top there, but Lucy Esdale, shout out to you, girlfriend, because even though she has now been put in a whole world of pain on her own out the back there, she actually had a good ride through there as well. We did suspect that. So it is kind of funny and interesting. It's a good play along at home game to watch them go through when it is a points race, all of these different climbs, and consider what that may have on the overall, because it happens so often, Anna, that we'll see what happens at the end of the race. They go over that final line, but that doesn't necessarily reflect what happened in a points capacity. So it always pays to head to wtrl.racing at the end of the day to check out all of the different results and how it ends up playing out, aside from what we do see on screen. But Sky from Bam Babe, she has been the agitator all day. She's come here to make trouble. She's made trouble. And
Mm,
now she's got a big gap, 17 seconds to a very reduced chasing group of Margot, Carolina Strasser, and Liz Martin. The three of them are going to be not only quite exhausted by this point of the race, but they're all riding for different teams with a little bit of a different intent. This could well be a move that we did not expect to stick, Anna. Sky Talbot,
mm.
we said that on paper 20 minutes is possibly not her favourite time, let alone anything longer. But, she's definitely pushing the limits there and pushing outside of that and having an incredibly strong performance.
Yeah, I think she's gone. 19 seconds, and it's just hemorrhaging time now. It was 14, now it's 19. It's probably, yeah, there we go, up to 20. One thing I'm very interested by is I think maybe the Bombshells riders, Heidi and Simone, who are now only 15 seconds behind this chase group, I think they may end up catching on. I think these guys know that they're very close to that group in front. 15 seconds back, I think they could do it. They're motivated. They're riding a pretty good watt there, higher than the group in front. Not sure on the speed differential, but that group is in sight. They just rounded that corner ahead of them. And if those two Bombshells riders can get back on, that's great for that team because all they have to do on lap 5 is hold on over those two climbs and then really push the pace on the last one. And they're doing very well in overall points.
Yeah, all they have to do. I mean, by this point, they're literally bleeding through their earballs just trying to survive through this. But yes, good turn of phrase, because sometimes it also pays to have a simplified strategy, if you will, just something to focus on. It's almost like I just have to survive this next section and then I'll be able to get through. And I said at the top of the show that this is a terrible course to divide in your head into numbers, because when you're like only 15 climbs, only 14 climbs, it's not very motivating and it doesn't seem particularly achievable. But when you get to this point and you're in the final lap, then you can start really thinking, I've got 3 more efforts left in me. That's all I have to manage, and just knock them off one at a time. So they've got a nice group working here, but I'm not sure that it's enough to pull Sky back. It's out to 21 seconds now. 15 seconds is your magic whiteboard number, Anna. She's flown by that now. This is looking increasingly likely that Sky might be able to stay away and pull this off.
I think she's going to stay away. I thought for a second there that Margot from Z-Sun was motivated there to get to the front and start pushing effort, and then very quickly went to the back of her group again. But look at those numbers I just saw pop up. Margot pushing up 5 watts a kg. So if she starts doing that, Sky could be in a little bit of trouble because that has popped down. It was up to, no, it still looks around 21 seconds, but that speed is higher. And I do think that Margot is motivated to catch back on. Unfortunately, she'll drag up 2 riders with her. Guys Racing is just hitting Libby Hill, and it looks like there's an early attack from Farron here from Humperdinck. He's gone very early. Looks like, I don't know, is that a little attack to draw out some people? 3 seconds. But, I mean, they're not even really at the base of the climb yet. I don't think I've even seen those red lines across the road. So we'll check this one out as we hold fire on what happens with the women's racing to see if Sky can stay away. But very early attack here on a smaller bunch, though. So this is when it can work. I'd be nervous though, about some of those orange numbers that the guys behind can hit. So what do you think? Can Farron stay away at this point?
Oh, I like that he's just got the gutser to do it, given that he had to chase after through that last lap to get back on. So it shows a fair swagger tenacity to not just catch back on, but to just go, may as well give it a crack and fly right past. So regardless of what happens here, Farron has thrown an absolute feral cat amongst the pigeons. And this bunch is now Vale took a bit of responsibility there, but his avatar kind of swung over. And if you can do it in Zwift, he looked at the others with a bit of a WTF speech bubble out of his head. Like, guys, come on, give this a crack. I can't do it, won't do it on my own. This is really playing into Ferran's hands. If he can get over the top, even with 1 or 2 seconds gap, even if he burns a lot of matches in doing so, it will give him the opportunity to then recover and be able to get back on. It looks like he's going to take this away, Anna. I'm not sure even he would have expected the bunch to hesitate as much as they have done, but this is a brilliant ride. He can now afford to, let's not say back off the pedals, but consider his effort and maybe start that recovery process already.
Yeah, I mean, I think because he's got so much of a gap now, 9 seconds, 10 seconds on that group behind, who really are set up. I think the strategy for him would be to carry on with that power. We can see he hasn't dropped off a lot. Ferran's still pushing some good numbers there. Still got an 8-second gap. You think he'll go for the 23rd Street as well? I mean, you'd have to. You've got a good little gap on that group behind. He's almost out of sight around that left-hand corner now that he's just hit. I don't see Goddick really motivated. Ferran's riding 4.7, Goddick only 2.8, so this gap's going to explode. Let's see what happens though with that pack coming down the hill. Pack dynamics on Zwift, they will go a lot faster, but Ferran still has some momentum going into this next climb. I've picked he's got it for 23rd Street as well.
Yeah, that was a cracker of an effort. And regardless of whether he meant to just survive over there and be able to recover a little bit, or whether he thought, no, I'm going to go solo, what's really interesting, Anna, is how much this is mirroring the women's racing. It is almost identical what's playing out on both sides of this dance card. So it's very interesting. Whenever I see the super tuck, it tells me that they're hurting, because you don't go into super tuck when your legs are feeling really good. You just keep ticking your legs over. So you know what? People will have all sorts of opinions on that. Throw them at me. But in my experience, I really think that kind of says that they're carrying a lot of fatigue. I mean, we know that anyway, right? But a pack where everybody's in a similar situation is a tough one. But Vale heats it up. Godek, he rolls over the top. But Ferran will take this as well, and with the ability to recover over the top.
Yeah, I mean, will he do what we've seen in the women's race with Sky, where she's taken this little gap by the bull by the horns and really gone for it? I don't think so. Looks like Ferran has pulled it back. Going to play the safe card, let Goddick, King there, catch him up. Has dropped to 5 seconds now. It was up to 12 seconds there before they opened up a big sprint. Let's see what he's got on this governor climb, because that is going to be the telling point. That's where we've seen Sky push away. She pushed some pretty high watts on there when other people's legs were tired, and they just sort of slowly got gapped off the back. We're seeing another super tuck there from Morales from the States, riding for the new herd kit, I think, with 3R, and it looks like King is still in the mix. So good work, King, our 50-plus rider, taking out some of our very early sprint points, still in the pack. I wondered if Cryogen's strategy was to use them for the sprints and then drop them off and have others for the finish line, but doing very, very well there. Kovacic, fortunately, it looks like a few too many matches burnt and just will not be able to close that gap, and that gap looks like an everlasting desert when you're in this point.
Yeah, they've had a pretty solid ride to date, though, so far. I mean, sometimes you go out with the tactic of playing a really long game, and you get to that pointy end of the race, you go to step on the pedals, and there's just nothing in your legs. That can happen as well, but we have seen a pretty structured approach to the racing from a lot of the teams so far, but it is playing out exactly the same in the men's and the women's.
Yeah, and Ferran here still riding very high watts. I think that he is going to try and take this gap. 8 seconds already. So we could have a situation of a same strategy in the men's and women's races, of a solo breakaway after those 3 climbs heading into the last lap. Very impressive riding here from Ferran, from the Humperdink team. 9 seconds. This gap is growing.
Say that 5 times fast.
And we're just going to head back into the women's replay as we see a little bit of the breakaway taking out the climb on Libby Hill. This is Sky, who we've been talking about for a while now. That gap is getting smaller. That was up around 22 seconds. I did think Margot was motivated from the Z-Sun team to catch that gap, and it looks like Margot does attack out of that group. She's already got 2 seconds on the riders with her as we see Sky take Libby Hill. Again, very impressive riding from Sky, and there we go. There we see Margot. So she has pulled away from the other 2 riders. I don't think she'll want to see them catch back on, and she'll have Sky well within her sights for this next climb, pushing that aero power up, even extending the gap to the riders behind. And we'll look at what's happening live now in the women's racing. This is going to be a little ding-dong battle between Sky from the Bam Babes and Margot. So you can see a couple of lapped riders, but those red shorts you see in the distance is Margot, and she is very, very close. 8 seconds now to Sky.
Yeah, gee, she is flying. She's quite a young rider. I was about to say only level 18 on Zwift, but she's only done 28 races to date. So we definitely can say that she's relatively new to the Zwift racing, having a pretty big impact. Sky, by contrast, she's done 177 races in Zwift, so she definitely knows the strategy and how to play it. Sometimes that's a really interesting contrast when they're in this position in a race. But I'd also hasten to say, Anna, that 44K in on such a nasty, tough course, experience, strategy doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is how much is left in the tank. It now becomes a drag race from tired back to tired. They're both doing a pretty good job of trying to push all the way to the line. Their heart rates are high. Margot over 180. I mean, they're the kind of heart rates we only achieved back in our youthful days, Anna. Now that we're old has-beens, I can't get my heart rate anywhere near that. Well, that's me. Sorry, I won't speak for you. It is, but they are incredibly high heart rates, like over 180. They're not messing around.
Oh, this is I'll take that has-been comment not too
sorry,
seriously.
I was talking about myself.
I won't
there,
go to bed. Won't go to bed crying tonight. But this is going to be extremely close. Margot here, 5 seconds back. She's got her in her sights, which is what you really want when you're trying to chase down a rider. So you can see her just lurking in the back like a great white shark. You know, just kind of coming up. You can almost hear the doo-doo music, right? And she's coming into this last climb. Oh, Governor Street. This is the kind of racing I love. A one-on-one mano-a-mano battle. You can see Sky is kind of freaking out a little bit. Her watts have gone up. Margot is matching them. 6 seconds back now, so Sky has really pulled through, but there's a lot of climbing left to go before they hit that finish line.
Well, now the only thing I can hear in my head is that Jaws song. And it's kind of freaking me out. But that's actually a good, like, this is terrifying for Sky because all she has to do, isn't that the easiest thing in the world to say, is just hang on and just put everything out there. But in the same way, Margot has something to chase now. 8 seconds. Liz Martin is a further 10 back with Carolina. So this is definitely in pieces. Nobody at this point is actually doing anything except surviving and going as hard as they possibly can to the very end. But they're still maintaining pretty good watts. So even though she's on a limit, Sky Talbot continues to push into some pretty high wattage zones there. And Margot, Anna, that gap has opened up to now 15 seconds. We've just seen a change in the tides, haven't we?
Yeah, you could almost just see it. Margot put in that little extra burst, and then you saw Sky just match it, and almost just all that motivation left Margot, and she dropped to that 3 watts, and you can see Sky here bringing it on home. Oh, dropping the aero power up. She didn't even need it. The next rider is well on the distance, tumbleweeds between her and Margot, and very impressive. But Margot starting to freak out a little there. 5 seconds back is Caroline, and she will be nervous now because I think she's blowing. And I believe Caroline knows that and is probably going to chase her down 3 seconds behind her. She may even pass her for second place. But Sky, Bam Babes, awesome riding. A couple of solo breakaways. I think she tested the water on that first lap, saw that she could do it after those climbs, get a good little gap. And she's just taken the bull by the horns in the race. And she can see the finish line. This is a great position to be. 25 seconds ahead of the rider back. Great battle between second and third, though. Hopefully we'll see that as well. But yeah, Sky, amazing effort. Chapeau.
Yeah, chapeau indeed. What a great ride from her. We didn't give her enough credit in the early stages, Anna. We said she's probably out on one of those dummy attacks to put pressure on and work on the team, but she, in fact, had some excellent legs. Now, look at this. Carolina Strasser
Oh,
has now caught Margot. Margot, I can almost see the mushroom
oh, there
cloud
goes
from here,
Margot.
but what a great job. Sprint
Oh,
finish. It's
Margot.
on. She
That's
pops
amazing. You could
past.
just see her accelerate. That was awesome. Where Margot, I
That
thought
is just
she
pure
had blown.
determination, isn't it?
Wow.
That is like, heck no. I put everything out there. You are not going to roll past me at the finish here. So very good finish from her. Liz Martin will roll in there for fourth across the line. Heidi Hunt is coming in now for fifth across the line. They are in ones and twos. It is messy. A lot of tenacity has gone into today. Sky Talbot, the ride of the day, and absolutely, I'm going to put it out there early, Anna, ride of the season.
Oh, whoa. That's a call. That is a huge call. We've
It's
still
a
got some
big,
racing
yeah.
to go,
I
Kate.
was like,
Gosh.
what have I said? She's hesitating. Yep, I'm putting it out there.
Oh wow, okay, that's a huge call. That's like calling rider of the tour at week 2. But okay, we'll take that.
I can
Hopefully,
try that too for you. Just call me in July and I'll see what tips I can give you.
oh man, okay, I like that. I like the confidence there in that ride of the season at only race number 5 of 8. So there we go. Well, that's you can't ask for more than that. That's been I thought it would be a really interesting race, and it has proved to be in the women's racing. We're just seeing some of these riders coming in. Still got the men's racing to watch the finish, and I believe that is going to be a great finish too. Will be good to see if Farron has managed to stay away. And no, it looks like, is that Erin from Dirt has kind of caught back up? Just trying to see there with the numbers. Looks like Farron is out in front, 3 seconds back. I'm just wondering if that's not a lapped rider, is it? For Aaron there from the Dirt H watts. I wasn't sure we'd seen him in the main pack, and they're riding very low watts. So this is insane sort of numbers here to see who is leading this charge. Looks like Farron is still out in
Yeah.
front by quite a lot.
I mean, based on Aaron, I think he is a lap to behind because it's 32K sitting there under the flag. But doesn't that kind of go to show just how tough this racing is, that people are actually losing a lap for a second there? But Farron continues this solo breakaway. It looks like he's got about 29 seconds on Morales, who is then back there with Lefebvre. And that's a pretty big gap that's opened up. We never, I'm always cautious when saying unassailable. Delightfully in the Zwift world, he won't hit a dog that's run out on course. There won't be any stacks in that kind of thing. But it doesn't mean that there won't be quite a physical, explosion where you run out of energy and completely lights out in that final couple of K. I reckon he's pretty safe. I just don't want to put the hex on him, Anna, because he's done such a good job out there tonight. So we spent a lot of time talking about Daniel King. He has done an exceptional job in accruing points, but Michael Farron is certainly showing everybody that he means business. And kudos to him, because we saw him get dropped, and this is pretty much right here where he attacked a lap earlier, Anna. We thought that he was just going for the points. He'd then take the opportunity to sit up and take that recovery and let them regroup, but that has not happened. And the flow on of that is that there is a much reduced chasing bunch behind him, but they're not getting much closer at all. It's out to 30 seconds now.
Yeah, and we're seeing some funny comments coming up from one of the dirt riders behind saying, let's just keep it friendly up these climbs, eh? So I think people are getting pretty toasted in the legs and just want to cruise up. Don't think that'll be the case because if you look behind Farron, there is a big group all together and they're going to be wanting to attack to at least get some gaps between each other as they head into that finish line governor climb, which is very, very hard way to finish. But Farron, what a race. Interesting to see it played out quite similar to the women's. I did not think there'd be solo breakaways, and here we see it in two of the races tonight. So, yeah, it's quite an interesting strategy that obviously works. I think when you've got a rider on the team, like we mentioned at the start of the show, who can just dial in a power, hold on to the effort, they can get away against people who are, maybe aren't used to this long of a race. I mean, this men's race already up to an hour 4. Unusual for Zwift racing, usually around that sort of 30 to 45-minute mark. And I think this is showing sort of who's got the clout with that longer kind of racing. This isn't a massive attack here. A couple of orange numbers, but a bit of a roll through there from Godek from 3R with Morales behind. This just shows everyone is at the absolute rivet.
Yeah, I've noticed, and it was something I noticed when I raced, but I probably pay a little bit more attention now. That my heart rate goes a lot higher, a lot quicker, thanks to the massively reduced fitness levels. But you can hit a point in a ride where your heart rate literally jumps 10 or 15 beats at the same power, and that's when you know it's a bit lights out. Even before your power starts to drop off, if you're really monitoring it, you know within yourself when you've hit kind of your useful limit. And I think when a lot of these athletes are used to racing 35 kilometers, 25 to 35 kilometers, 45 is a huge jump up. So you could look at it and go, it's only 10K difference. But that 10K, when your body is so tuned to slightly shorter distances, some of the riders will have definitely taken the time to put in some efforts over these longer distances to make sure that they can hang on to the end. Farron, I feel like, he's really come into his own at the back end. Now, we're seeing here, Anna, that this lapped rider's kind of getting all up in his business and messing with him. And hilariously, his name is Hands, so he needs to kind of be a little bit hands-off.
Less handsy.
And be less handsy, Mr. Hands. But he has also put in a great ride. Any of the riders who are able to finish this distance, I give my respect to. Daniel King goes over there in second. Definitely the most consistent rider of the day there. We'll give him the Red Number Award for that effort. But Farron, still 24 seconds. It looks like 21 seconds now, Anna. Back to King. I don't think that'll come down all the way. But again, this is like carbon copy of what happened in the women, where that gap did come back, but not quite enough. Godek in the super tuck, flying past there and taking the chance to get a bit of speed and get a bit of recovery. And I noticed that Kovacic, who's sitting in there as well, behind his name it says "Big Strong Guys." So I think we get a bit of a feeling of what they're about. The Big Strong Guys. They've put on a good performance today. The race 3R guys. They're the Slovenian team that are on here. So they've certainly animated it a bit today for us, the Big Strong Guys.
Yeah, definitely. We are seeing that gap has come down to 23 seconds. So Godek leading the charge there from race 3R with Morales on as well, King, and then they did shred the rest of that pack. So you've got, only 3 seconds back, but I think that could stay there. The kind of, you can see really in the distance there, there's quite a few riders in ones and twos desperately trying to get back on. And like what we saw in the women's race, they'll desperately get back on and they hit this Governor Street climb for a very long drag to the finish line. So they're kind of right at the end of their limit, and then they have to hit another limit again. So could be a little bit too much for these riders at the back. Are we seeing that gap come down to our lead rider there. I'm not seeing it come down too much. So still looks to be about 23 seconds. I mean, he's still riding really fast, really strong. He's out of sight. I think Farron's got this one. Extremely good performance. He attacked on that Libby Street climb and just stayed away. We thought he was staying away just for the 23rd Street climb straight after. Managed to keep away and do a whole lap solo. And look at that. You can see that blue Tron well in the distance, and that's Goddick riding along with Morales, who have pulled away from D King now. So very, very good riding from Farron, taking the win for the Humperdinks in the racing in the B class today.
Yeah, the fact that he got dagged off the back at one point and fought back, not only just fought back to get back, but flew right past them and really took the race into his hands. I give him an awful lot of credit for that effort.
Yeah, for sure. I do actually want to, maybe, Kate, you can put some of these Aussie terms up. I do know a few Australians, so I do kind of understand maybe what dagging it means. And I know stacks or stacking it, I think, is when you fall over or fall off your bike. But for our listeners out there, that's what Kate's talking about if you're looking sort of confused going, what is this Australian terminology? I think that's my interpretation, if I've got that right.
No, you've got that right. I did type on screen in a bunch ride the other day. In Australia, we often add an O, pardon me, to the word nice, which turns it into a bit of a nice. And I confused a few foreigners with that one. They thought I had sweaty fingers and was doing a typo. But Farron coming in for the win here, I would call that a very nice performance, Anna. Great ride from him. He certainly gets the most tenacious award for that. But Godek, he's not far back. He actually ended up closing that pretty quickly. Daniel King looks like he's blown a foo-foo valve. He's a bit further back. Morales coming over in third. Oh, they're fighting right to the end.
Oh, and poor King. He's just getting passed by everyone at the moment. Might just fall back. Hopefully he'll stay in top 10. Looking at Keegan here from the Dirty Sprockets, Vale from 3R. Keegan had a lap to go, unfortunately. Gosh, that's brutal, seeing these people finish and still having a lap to go. Little sprint finish here from Lefevre with the visor on against Kovacic. Looks like he just took him out over the line. And yeah, Farron taking that out. And pretty much a carbon copy of the women's race.
I like the sneaky little note of the visor. I feel like you had to throw that in from a fashion perspective. You're like, and he's got a visor. But Anna, that was pretty brilliant racing all around. Sometimes I get a little bit of FOMO when I'm watching, and I'm like, I'm really hanging to be out there and getting it done myself, but not tonight. No part of me thought like that looked like a whole lot of fun. So, pretty big ups to everybody who got it done.
Yeah, I think it would have been fun to finish solo with the wins, like we saw in the men's and women's racing, but that was a whole lot of pain to be able to hold those breakaways away. So all kudos to them. They kind of made it look easy. The avatars looked fresh, but I'm sure there was a lot of sweat dripping all over the floor on their trainers at home. That was not an easy race, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's so glamorous, isn't it? Just sweat all over the floor like you're in your own little pain cave, surrounded by it. Let's take a look at the women's results. We had a brilliant ride by Sky Talbot at the end there, a solo ride, but let's see how it all played out. Sky Talbot taking the win ahead of Margot Jaquette, Carolina Strasser in third, Martin in fourth, Heidi Hunt in fifth. We've got SM in sixth. She sounds like a rapper too, like M. Gokya Paul coming in seventh. Villamine Deroux in eighth. We've got Van Bigelow in ninth. Vicky there, and Ella's rounding out that top 10.
And in the C category, we have C Welch from AHDRL Crazy Cakes taking it out with quite a big gap over maybe another breakaway over San Diego from DZP Lacklax, Rice from AHDRL Crazy Cakes in third, Williams from Smile On in fourth, Blegg from Rave C Aussie in fifth, Kunanan in sixth, Nordstrom in seventh from Smile On, Beretta in eighth from Rave C, another Rave C from Al in ninth, and 10th, Jay Wood from Smile On C. Good representation from the Smiles On at the top 10.
I know, they've been on fire, haven't they? All right, now let's look at the Ds. We've got Carly Horn taking the win there ahead of Sarah La Civita in second, Danielle Van Tol in third, Carolina Hirsch in fourth. We've got Steph Boller in fifth. In sixth, we've got Sherry Matthewson. We've got Razor Dowling in seventh. In eighth, we've got Lorna Jones. Lorna Jane, that's, of course, a very famous activewear company. So
brand.
close, but no cigar there. Karen Higger is in ninth, and Beck Den rounding out that top 10.
And looking here at the Div 3 men's, which we just finished watching, Farron first, Engeldirt Humperdinck. Man, that's hard to say. Goddick from R3R Nirvana in second. Morales, one of the well-known Zwifters from Herd of Cassowaries in third. Vale, also from R3R Nirvana in fourth. They've done very well. 2 in the top 4. Lefevre in 5th from Riding Dirty. Kovacic, another R3R teammate, in 6th. D King, one of the best riders of today, from Cryogen Etnas in 7th. Martin from Herd of Cassowaries in 8th. Upshaw in 9th from Riding Dirty. But then Riding Dirtier was G Partain in 10th.
Well, I do appreciate the number of Ride Dirty and Ride Dirtier riders there were in the top 10 there. Pretty good show. All in all, Michael Farron, you cannot take away the brilliant victory he had, but very big high fives, high tens to Daniel King, who threw it out very early and most consistent. Head over to WTRL.racing for all of the roundup of all of that. Anna, I feel like you need some sleep because you are up for the European League in the morning to have a chat about everything happening over there. We're pretty lucky that we actually get to start. And look at this. This is a 3-year-old's hand creeping in here. That's my sign as well. We are lucky that with APAC, we actually get to start off the week and see how it all plays out. Quite often, a lot of the riders are actually watching this coverage to make sure that they get a few of the inside tips as to what may happen for their leagues. This is young Margaret. This is her broadcast debut. So I will wrap it up from my end. Anna, thank you very much for joining us. I'll be back for America West to bookend the racing tomorrow. You will be back for Europe. But thank you for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you next week for week 6.